I'll say, we were clear about who reads what.
I will read Tuilan, Virgil, and Tuluf. Johnny will read narrator. You will read Beelzebub and Ashiata. And Zainab will read Zainab. And I will begin. The mission of Hussein and Zainab, their ultimate adventure.
Deep in the heart of purgatory, Tuilan, father of Zainab, and Tuluf, the father of Hussein, meet together with Virgil, the creator of the artificial moon Virgilius. They have just heard of a new experiment involving their children.
Zainab, my daughter, and Hussein, son of my brother Tuluf, have come to purgatory and are at present on the moon you created. Our Reverend Father Beelzebub has made it known to me that we are required to bring their presences into the sphere of our planet, and for this I need your help in bringing them close and guiding them through the myriad realities that surround us so that they can come to enter into the central place of our objective research without harm to their brains. I willingly agree to your request. I have heard that these two beings have been granted an unusual destiny that involves bringing the secrets of our sacred world out into the myriad systems of the megalocosmos. I hardly have to tell you that you will be called upon to equip our young brethren for their journey and the changes they will have to undergo. Surely they will need all the help we can give them. What they have to face is unprecedented. It is likely that they will have to make use of limitless time, the substance of the Holy Sun Absolute. Such would be the blessing of our Father Endlessness.
An attendant approached and spoke quietly to Beelzebub. Hussein and Zainab were agog to know what was about to unfold. He sat silently for a while, his great head bowed, then lifted his eyes to them and pronounced solemnly,
"There is coming here a most special guide to escort you two into purgatory. My son Tuilan informs me that he has arranged for you to visit the main research center for transforming being motion. Zainab will have seen this place before, but not the unique device which is being constructed there, where you will learn what your future may bring."
Zainab and Hussein, in their excitement, spoke over each other, asking about the special escort they are promised and the reason for their visit to see the unique device.
Let me briefly explain. The special envoy will be Virgil, the supreme being who designed the moon in which we are now. For some reason which has not been fully disclosed to me, it was Virgil himself who insisted on taking on this task. The transition from this moon to the planet below is rather complex, and it appears from my conversation with your fathers Tuilan and Tuluf that special means are being employed to ensure that your reasons will be unimpaired by the journey. It is necessary that you both arrive in the state of a high degree of self-sensing.
Is the device the one built on the deliverance drive of the Holy Spirit we spoke about through the Zoom Opticon?
It must be the most secret of all things on purgatory. Why is it that we will be given access to such a sacred thing?
Yes, my grandchildren, the device is the culmination of research into deliverance, and you are going to gain access to it because of a task which will fall upon you in a future age. That is future in relation to the general state of the megalocosmos. This will be when, Hussein, the journey back to our home planet of Karatas has come to an end and your being education is completed.
Will I too have to complete my education? My father told me that this means I will have my body of permanent intelligence, but this rarely comes before most of life has passed.
It will be enough that the transformation is initiated because it must then inevitably be fulfilled.
Dear grandfather, where will I be during this time of completion? And who will guide me? I fear that you might be past the time of your sacred Raskawarno, something hard to contemplate.
Dear grandfather, I sense and feel that this process of making higher being bodies somehow necessitates the two of us to act together.
That is so. You must know that even his endlessness is subject to uncertainty and has to counter the workings of the merciless Hieropas and overcome misfortunes caused by the coming into existence of the combined results of cosmic laws. Such transformations require the participation of three-brained beings from throughout the megalocosmos. As you will learn, such beings may have to go through what appears to be unjust suffering so that the megalocosmos can continue to provide a place for his endlessness to be and maintain the Sun Absolute. It is only through the conscious sufferings of beings that the being of beings can retain its integral reality. You will be involved if you so choose in such work.
Is this what I have heard of called becoming food for God?
But, dear grandfather, please wait. How is it right that beings have to suffer to maintain the existence of the dwelling place of his endlessness?
Hussein, I can tell you that in the suffering of beings, it is his endlessness who suffers. This kind of suffering is sometimes referred to as the coming to presence of that which is of God himself.
Virgilius became full of activity, with beings of various natures engaged in performing duties of connection in space and time in order to bring into contact and synchronize the laws of different worlds. The satellite resonated to the sounds of ascending angels, whose singing was to convey the inner presences of Hussein and Zainab into the glorious landscape of the planet below.
My blessings upon you, my dear grandchildren. May your journey bring you to the dawn of your foreordained destiny.
Virgil appeared in shining raiment as the supreme guide to travelers between worlds. Hussein and Zainab stood close together, shaking in humility. Their breathing altered as transformations rippled through them. They entered a world where their inner bodies became visible, while their planetary bodies disappeared from the sight of any observer.
Fare forward, voyagers!
Hussein and Zainab became filled with a vision of all the second-order suns of the megalocosmos. This concentrated and condensed to the inside of Virgilius and further contracted into their planetary bodies. These bodies became translucent as the light began to shine from inside them. The light then contracted into a dark point that was a portal without dimensions. They became aware of immense sorrow and an infinitude of grief. Lamentation burst forth in their hearts. They saw multiple worlds come into existence and die away, a ceaseless becoming of matter, life and intelligence, mingled with death and time, the devouring passion of the hero pass. Then there was silence. Zainab and Hussein fell into a consciousness in which they could not tell each other apart. They felt they did not need to be in any place or at any time, but it was sufficient for them to know each other. Then they became aware of a being on the surface of purgatory, in a region of transcendental beauty, in which every region contained every region in endless depth. Gradually, they felt themselves being drawn towards a cave, from which came an emanation of friendship so pure that it threatened to annihilate them. Before the entrance to the cave stood the figure of Virgil. Hussein and Zainab then felt more solid and present, having a sense of coming to rest in their own presence. They bowed before the great figure standing before them.
Draw near. It has been decreed that you should pause here in this cave, which is the dwelling place of the blessed Ashiata Shimash. The cave is a special present moment, making it possible for you to meet with him.
Is this the same Ashiata Shimash who was sent to the planet Earth to help the three-brain beings there overcome the effects of Gundabuffer? My father told me stories of him.
Let us go in and find out for ourselves. This is what we must do, Your Holiness.
Virgil nodded and stood aside. They moved forward, becoming amazed at the vastness that appeared to them beyond the opening of the cave. Vegetation and rocks giving way to hallways and corridors of intricate design. Everywhere there were images and symbols of divine beings. A fountain produced a mist around them that appeared to give them strength, for their perceptions were weighing heavily upon them. They were drawn forward, coming to the presence of a luminous being shrouded in veils of dark light.
Reverend One of Supreme Bliss, I have brought to you the beings who have a special destiny for which you must prepare them. Please inform their reason of what they need to know before they proceed to the center of all knowingness and encounter the device which will take them to their future state.
Before their eyes, the resplendent figure of Ashiata Shimash enfolded into a modest appearance, and his surroundings became simplified to a plain room with the simplest furniture and in pastel colours. He held out his arms to the children in an invitation to draw near, and a gentle smile wreathed his face.
Come, and rest yourselves and be still. There is no need for you to assume any posture or perform any ritual of reverence, since we need to talk as free and equal beings sharing in a corresponding moment together.
Zainab and Hussein found themselves seated before the figure represented, according to legends spread by many initiates, as a pinnacle of objective reason and compassion, renowned throughout the megalocosmos.
Your Holiness, speaking for myself, I am barely able to stabilize my being here. Even with the protection of Virgil, I am assailed by the intensity of existence here and now, and standing before you, it is almost unbearable.
We meet here in essence, wherein there are no differences of virtue or understanding. Yet all the images you have still clinging to you of time past and time future abate and lose their insistence. You both must simply be aware of each other in this unique event that is only identical to itself. You may have heard that during my time on Earth, I was able to reveal to many of the three-brain beings there a real way in which the presence of his endlessness might be experienced, which required nothing but their intentional sense of nothingness.
It feels to me that we understand what that means from being in your presence.
Do not think of it as something being done by me. I can only reveal to beings what they already know. Each individual must do it for himself, as all beings can, when they realize how they have always known this, whether as newborn children or aged sages. You must speak to me as friends.
May I then address you as the friend?
That is precisely so.
Dear friend, how is it that we have gathered here on the holiest of planets? Was it at the behest of our grandfather Beelzebub? But he did not speak of meeting you when he sent us on our journey, and neither did Virgil explain this meeting as part of our itinerary.
Hussein, you must have suspected that your education from your grandfather Beelzebub, that involves so many stories and explanations concerning the three-brain beings of planet Earth, had a purpose beyond the proper education of your being. And you, Zainab, whose intelligence of being had been fostered by your father, who gave you access to the creative work being conducted in the center of all knowingness, have you not wondered why you were given such privileges? You have been the only person given such access who had not attained the grace of being admitted to purgatory by virtue of your own transubstantiation through your own conscious labor and intentional suffering.
Dear friend, please explain the reason for the special education we received. What was it for? Who ordained it should be so?
You will get to see why and for what for yourselves in due time. In this present moment, I need to tell you something of my sojourn on Earth and the results of my labors there.
Was it true, dear friend, that you went to Earth at the behest of our endlessness as a particle of his mercy?
You will have heard of the terrible calamities and subsequent consequences that came upon the unfortunate three-brain beings of that singular planet. Though residing in an obscure corner of the Milky Way, the travails of its people have come to be known even here on Purgatory. These travails were and are connected with the labors of higher beings concerned with world maintenance, which have been revealed as inadequate to express the mercy of God, which must extend to the welfare of all sentient beings. You see, the divine work of redemption has always been in progress, but proceeds otherwise than according to law. That is why it requires the actions of free individuals.
We have been overcome by grief at the misfortunes of the three-brained beings of the planet Earth. But even more so because, as it seems from fragments we have heard, that even your mission did not succeed in restoring the beings of Earth to normalcy.
Dear friend, what was your name while you were on Earth? Are you still remembered there? Or have you been forgotten as many other significant events have slipped into obscurity? We have been hearing about this amnesia inherent, it seems, in the lives of three-brained beings on planet Earth.
My name was best remembered there as Zoroaster, but my true life there has faded into legend, and many there are not even sure when I existed or whether I existed at all. I left behind the galvanisms which contained information on my mission, but few on Earth, as you have learned, were able to read the truth in them. Let me tell you of the true nature of events in my life. My original name was Ashiata, from the word Asha, for the true world of objective reason, and Shimash, which meant then the being of a sun. Our sojourn on earth, let us say, was in a special dimension of time. You may come to understand that events concerning redemption do not just take place as one thing after another. In the later years of your lives, you will understand this in ways you cannot yet know. What is important is that I explain to you how the work that I brought into the lives of the beings of the planet Earth was destroyed so that it is now barely a memory there.
Our dear grandfather has told us of the tendency for real events to be forgotten there. All that remains are mere fragments of an unknown teaching, as I've heard it called.
My dear ones, what is important now is for you to listen to all three of your brains, but just as if they were one brain, because each of them will be absorbing information in its own way, and all three ways should not be divided. You can only hear what I say if you listen to what you know already in your essential being. Objective knowledge is not divided between beings, but is everywhere the same. The sameness is a secret upon which I drew, to enable the reason of the three brain beings on earth to make contact with the presence of God in them as was needed for them to perform their being park dog duty. I used no power over people, even though I could have commanded higher forces to make them see things in a true way.
Dear friend, what is the sameness you speak of, as if it were a divine force of enlightenment? Why sameness?
Yes, dear friend, it seems so modest and quiet a thing, incapable of doing anything.
As for this sameness, everything that is different has to be rendered as nothing. But this is impossible to do by any effort. My work was to awaken in people the organ known as conscience. Sameness is the root of all knowledge and understanding, the cosmic substance of objective reason, and it is this that enables conscience to awaken as when beings realize that they cannot be different from God.
It seems impossible for the awakening through the realization of sameness to be taken away, since it arose as the essence of direct experience and requires no external support.
As you will yourself discover and come to investigate, there is in the nature of the creation an intrinsic principle whereby whatever is created retains a dependency so that no existence can be truly and completely itself. In my teachings, I spoke about this as the lie, and this is still to be found described in writings that have survived on earth. It is a matter too difficult to speak of in the few moments we have left together. But you must remember that there is a fundamental reason why the beings of this holy planet, including myself, in spite of all our own labors and sufferings we undertake to pass over into this holy Sun Absolute, cannot as yet find our final sameness with his endlessness.
This is also difficult, impossible to understand. Can it be that his endlessness is still involved himself in resolving problems entailed by the merciless Heropas which creation cannot solve? How can this be so?
What we are speaking about will be lived through by you both, separately and together over many of your years. In this moment together, you may feel that it is not really happening, that you and I are not here at all. Let me tell you why my work almost completely vanished from the consciousness of beings on the earth. One of the consequences of the organ kunda buffer was that the three brain beings of the planet Earth could not develop an independent reason, but were subject to what they heard and read coming from outside them and even taking the place of what they should feel and sense for themselves.
Our grandfather spoke of this concerning his sojourn in the Tiklia mission civilization, and told us of the loss of the capacity for true reading, which meant that legomenisms could not be understood.
Yes, the unfortunate beings had become open to new impressions from outside themselves, such as by way of writings, but lacked the discrimination by which they could guard against the maleficent material entering their brains.
So it was. The very freedom from inner contradictions that had come about through the opening of receptivity in them came at the cost of an unsuspected vulnerability. I and my brethren had not realized it had culminated in the effect of information entering people's brains from outside in ways divorced from what they could acquire through direct experience and work upon themselves. It appears that this state of affairs has now grown to immense proportions on the planet Earth, in place of the understanding which can only be generated through personal efforts and sacrifice. The beings there fill themselves with stories, explanations, impressions carried by vibrations of Okidanok, lacking in the element of sameness, having no basis in their lives and responsibilities. Inevitably, such circumstances are exploited by Hasnamossian individuals who seek to exploit the instinctive sensing of difference, which is proper to their planetary bodies, to separate people from each other by blocking essence awareness and therefore blinding themselves to what they really are.
Dear friend, why is it that you speak of these things to us young three-brain beings? I reason that you describe the annihilation of your great work because you are leading us to understand what might be possible to restore the objective welfare of the beings of planet Earth.
Zainab, you are too hasty. Our friend must be unfolding data to be crystallized in our presences in such a way as our grandfather used to do, and it will be proper to have patience and not distort the tempo of the enlightenment now in progress.
Thank you both. What you say is already in my narrative, but I can accelerate my exegesis because of it. Let me add this. Hope lies in the exemplification of sameness in a new individuality created together. Conscience can no longer be properly brought into participation in ordinary waking consciousness by separate beings, but only through the instantiation of the sameness of people. It is this that can act as the place where the Spirit of God can directly enter the universe. The exemplification must be brought about by three-brain beings sacrificing themselves to each other by relinquishing their own existence for the sake of the others. Can you now begin to understand why you have been brought to me?
It is as if all you have said has become an empty void in me. How is it possible that anything at all we could accomplish would make any difference to the situation on planet Earth? We have no wisdom, and I suspect it cannot be given to us either.
You say you have no wisdom, but wisdom is not to be had or possessed, but brought into manifestation by freedom of the sameness between you. It is good, Zainab, that you feel yourself an empty void. Hassan must know it too.
Friend, it suddenly comes upon me that Zainab and I are incomplete. We must be more than two. Is there a third who's yet to come?
Always. But there is more.
Asher and his cave fades away as his voice becomes an inaudible whisper.
Hassan, where are you?
I do not know, nor do I have any idea.
I can see nothing, but I hear your voice.
I feel as if I'm groping around trying to find my body.
I touch someone. It must be you.
Then these must be your hands.
My sight is clearing. I seem to see a landscape.
Keep talking to me. Otherwise, I might disappear.
Here, feel the ground under you.
Yes, I do.
And now, follow the consciousness of your hands.
Zainab,
Hussein,
can we be on the surface of purgatory?
it seems to be taking shape and appearing more strongly. Can you see that, Hussein?
Yes. But I am unsure where we are. This landscape looks so much like the ones I knew on Karatas, my home planet.
And I am remembering where I was born. In the system Arcturus, on the planet Eden.
Something tells me that this landscape is really taken from the planet Earth. Do you remember our conversation with Asha and the sense of us having had become part of the enigma of that troubled world?
Is this then another teaching? Can we not at last be left to ourselves to be, to live, to think for ourselves?
Zainab, have we ever done that? I feel that with you, I am maybe just starting to have my own being mentation.
Hussein, look, who is this figure that approaches us? Can you see, as he moves, the landscape comes into being? He is on a path. There is vegetation. Over there I see rocks.
Surely it is Virgil, our pathfinder. Look, he's pausing and beckoning to us.
I suppose we must go to him, but I am glad to smell the fragrance of the air and experience the warmth of some kind of sun upon my face.
Just now, glancing upward to the sky, I felt my brain was on fire because it seemed that a myriad of worlds were colliding above us.
Come, keep hold of my hand. Let us go forward.
Virgil, where are we? Where are we going? Do not stop. Keep moving. This is the only way you can stay here. To appease your curiosity, I can tell you that we are walking through one of the most advanced laboratories of purgatorial science. Even you have not been here before, Zainab. Do not delay now. Keep your movement going.
I see our path winds up around the hill. I feel waves of sensation from the flowers on the hill through which we are passing.
I'm having to make efforts to climb up the path, but at the same time I seem to be pulled upward without any effort at all. Can you see what is standing there on the summit of the hill? Is your vision clear enough to make it out? You need, both of you, to have a substance in you that you create from your individuality before you can see what lies ahead.
Will we ever get there? I don't know if I have the strength.
You have the strength of both of us. Maintain that unity and all will be well. You see how the path is turning into steps? These are the steps in a complex transformation that is rarely accomplished. What is ahead? That being, that place, what kind of thing is it? It is what has been made for you over aeons of experiment throughout even the furthest reaches of the megalocosmos.
Look there, Hussein. Coming towards us from the other side of the hill, there are our fathers.
And before us is a rock or building, something ancient, as if born out of the earth. Come, sit within it, and so dwell in your future. Your fathers are here to bear witness.
We seem to be part of what this is.
And now I remember being on Earth long ago. And you were with me, Zainab. This thing of stone is the appearance in ordinary being perception of the greatest device ever made, even on purgatory. It not only transcends space, but also time. In it, there is no beginning or ending. It is pure communication brought down from on high as a gift to all beings.
To all beings.
Yes, but understand it is made possible only by specific individuals, particular three-brained beings who by their act of acceptance enable the deliverance of the megalocosmos from the Hieropas. Tuluf, my brother, and I give you whatever being strength we can, but it cannot be enough. This device is pure, made from the substance of the Theomortma Logos. It is no more, though, than what you two will do together. Yes, Tuelan, just now, it has just returned from a critical time in the existence of planet Earth, and you too have returned inside of it, but as one, not two. You will know that there, a rent had been made in the fabric of existence on the planet Earth. In spite of the advent of Ashiata, you have brought deliverance for the beings there and healed the rift. Your unity, the coalescence of your souls, is standing just behind you, but you cannot look. No, Zainab, do not look back. There are two realities now. In one of them, you are undivided. In the other, you are still Zainab and Hussein, and your lives are yet to unfold. These two realities are side by side in the ultimate device, but they can only be reconciled by what you two agree to be real.
How can we do that? How can we know what to do?
Reality is beyond our power. In the end is the beginning.
So be it.
How can we do that? How can we know what to do?
Reality is beyond our power. In the end is the beginning.
So be it.
Hussein and Zainab parted ways, and Beelzebub and Hussein returned to the ship and continued on their journey. What happened on Purgatory stayed on Purgatory.
To say this was picked up by satellite, having traveled many eons throughout the universe, and there's some static, but you can make out what these beings were saying to each other, and keep it as a